and we should be live here with this practicing session number 46 or 47. I forgot about it. So with Beethoven anyway. I hope everything is okay in the live stream. I am very sensitive to these live streams since technically they went wrong oftentimes the past weeks, couple of weeks. And today I'm looking on my screen right now. Now it's flipped to good again, but it was just 1 minute before we started the live stream. So the stream quality that YouTube is giving you feedback on was switching from good to bad in an instant. So it's constantly flipping now. So I hope it's okay. It's nothing, I can do nothing basically about it. So today we have a practicing session on the F minor sonata that we had talks about in the last couple of weeks. Several movements, and so what I was planning to do is actually just to practice that sonata, perhaps with a little bit less talking. I don't know how this goes because I cannot keep my mouth shut, so to say, so I always have the feeling to share things that I'm thinking about, but sometimes that also breaks the focus on playing. So it might be interesting, I don't know, for you, but let me know in the chat, and Anya will certainly inform me later if I don't see it live, if you enjoy that as well. So just hear me practice with some short notes. I'll come in the chat as always, and also as always at the end, and also as always the first 5 minutes, just welcoming you here. And for those who watch the live stream of this practicing session, I try to start around 5 minutes, can be 6, but just scroll a little bit further, 5-6 minutes, and then we dive into Beethoven, as we will do a lot more in the future, since the Beethoven project will be pretty dominant on the channel for the coming years, actually working on the full list and the way we are going to actually produce these recordings in 22 CDs as we speak. The vinyl discs, that's for later. Start first things first, so the CD productions will go first of the Beethoven, and 21 CDs plus one bonus CD, which will be the Kurfürsten Sonata. So the first 3 sonatas that Beethoven had published in 1822, but which he actually composed at age 13, so 12, 13. He was kind of mysterious on this as well, so 1783. Today, again, we're going to do the first sonata. I'll have some other sessions coming up with the second sonata, but that's for later. So let me just welcome you here in the chat. I hope my microphone is not making too much noise if I touch it, because the computer is rather far. I don't know why I've put it like this. Actually, now I see it why I did it, because the Erard piano has moved to another place. It's just around the corner, because I need some room for the pianoforte that starts to come. We actually set a date today, 10th of March. And that will be exciting. Also a little bit, having 2 instruments was already breaking the routine schedule. Now we will have 3. I see the stream status is okay, which should be good for you too. The live stream should be good. So just scrolling back here, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is here. Well, that's an honor to have you. Zacharias, André Marquez is here. Welcome, Kostas, our Greek friend and composer. Theoretically musical. No problem to be late. That's fine, just in time. We always wait a few minutes for people to come in. Brian is here with a thumbs up. That's great. Doug, Hugo, Russo. I see Joseph here. Riken 1997 from Tokyo. So I think we will be globally 100% today again. So guys, if you hear airplanes, it's because the sun is shining, I think, but there is a military airbase 3 kilometers from here. Normally, at this time of the day, they are quiet, but today they are really flying, I think, protecting the instruments here. Maybe even the Beethoven project, who knows. But if they fly over, they can really make a lot of noise. Hope they're not doing that, but if you hear some rumble at the background, it's not with the audio, it are the airplanes, F-16 fighters. Okay guys, so that's about 5 minutes. Let's just dive into some music here, and I was planning to play the first movement. And as said before, we'll see how much I talk or just play. It would perhaps be nice just to have a playing session, but we'll see. There's a strange thing happening on my phone. I don't know. There is a little app jumping. And since I cannot ask Sophie, who knows so much more about this, I just click something and it disappeared. Great. Okay, I have the lid of the clavichord, I would say, of the piano closed. So I learned from you last time that there was a little bit of loss in upper tones for the treble, but I think that's fine for the live streams, since I love practicing like this. The piano has a unity of sound, and for the Beethoven project we're going to experiment with these microphones, but then with a high-end amplifier, see what the differences really are, because microphones, they tend to pick up a lot more impurities than the human ear. We constantly correct. So if you have 3 strings here at the treble, I can promise you, still I need to make some videos on this piano. It's hard to tune. If I play those in octaves. This G, for instance, is impossible to tune. If I would open the lid, that's okay. But this octave is simply out of tune, and there is no way I can correct this. I'll demonstrate that in some videos. Might have to do something with the positioning of the hammerhead. So it's being restored by Robert Brown, which I don't know. I would love to meet him, and I'll contact him if it's okay for him, if Joris would just try to reposition the hammerhead, because if it doesn't hit the 3 strings at the same time, that's something I learned from Joris, you might have problems in voicing but also in tuning. It's so super sensitive. So that's the reason why I keep the lid closed. Okay, there we go. F minor. And yeah, okay, just play. Okay, until that's enough. So this is a perfect example of, let me just check my tempo first. That's spot on actually, of how you can play one piece and basically doing nothing wrong and still there is no energy. So, and to be honest, that of course happens in live, that happens during recording sessions, that happens during, and sometimes you feel exactly from directly there is a problem, so I should not hold back there or have overdone some things. But in this case, I actually don't know. There is not enough strength in the piece. So let's try to fix that. What I typically do is just play it straightforward. Oftentimes you'll see you overdoing things. So let's just check the tempo here. And that's something you don't need to do, but in my case, I want to stay as close as I can to those tempo indications of Moshes and Czerny. Czerny has 3 actually. I'm playing back from Schenker. Honestly, my score of my original print of Czerny was on the piano, and I somewhere took it safe, but I forgot where. So I will refine it, but now I'm playing from my old score, and I see all the metronome numbers of Czerny, 104, 108, and 120. So it has a certain range. Moschles is always 108. So 108 is also what was basically my tempo. And in these cases, when you're just struggling a little bit, it's no use to speed up, to slow down. It's not the tempo. It's the thing you do with it. So within the movement. Okay, we just do it again. And then, you know, when there is an airplane, when I would play this normally without you here at the live stream, I would go back over and over again until I feel that this movement is being restored back. But it feels a little bit empty, I think, when I just jump from the first line back to the beginning and to the beginning and then. But let's pretend now you're not here and I've just tried to fix this piece again. And by the way, this is a piece I actually consider to be finished for recording, so that happens all the time. You need to refresh it constantly. I hear sometimes, just a quick in between, because musicians I know, but also for you, sometimes I hear that after a while a piece seems to be, you know, a little bit tired of being practiced. That's the moment where you have to restart again. And you'll see you regain that freshness if you penetrate that barrier, so to say. You overcome that difficulty of you repeating yourself all the time. That's normal, but be refreshed. Refresh yourself all the time. I don't know if I express myself well in this. And experiment then with the tempo. Go a little bit faster, go a little bit slower, and see what this does. But I don't think you can over-practice a piece. You can practice it, take it too fast in a kind of performance mode, because that's something you should avoid doing. Practicing is not the same as performing. Just playing it every day, then you need to work on these levels below constantly, and then I think a piece remains fresh forever. So let's just start again. That's much better, actually. I'm still not happy. I'm going to continue a little bit just to fresh up. It's better, it's better, it's better. Check my tempo. A little bit faster, I think. It's not. That's really strange. So exactly the same tempo as before, and still there is a difference in feeling. At least for me, I don't know if you have heard or noticed the same thing. I had the impression that this was faster, but apparently it's not. And the reason why it's not is in giving the right or righter accents as before, not standing still too much with accentuated notes. It is all in very, very small details. Also, I noticed some releases were just not right. So there are some very tricky ones, like we will talk about it here at the beginning. But for instance, here. If you make that a little bit longer, then you slow down, not in tempo, but in feeling. Instead of... Let me check now. It's still okay, not... Also, at the beginning of this, where do you put the accentuation and how much? I mean, it's dum pum pum pum. Do you a lot, or do you very little, Tom? And how long would you like to wait here with the A flat, like w.a.Mozart somewhere writes? The longer you can hold the note before releasing it, the better. So Beethoven, of course, needs to give a notation within normal practice. So quarter note, dotted quarter note, and then he gives a triplet and 16th note. So to indicate, of course, about what he has in mind. But this is not a reflection of exactly what you should play, or what is indicated is tension, relief. But how long? Of course, you cannot make that E flat dotted quarter note too long, because then you're changing the notation. You can do it a little bit, but then the release very aggressive, or rather fast, or just very gentle. You have 1,000 possibilities. That's too fast. And so the character of the piece, of what you project, is the character. That's, for me at least, always a guide. So certainly in those moments where you say, well, you lose a little bit that point, that horizon where you always aim for. And it's, of course, if you're lucky, you hit that sometimes, hopefully during a recording or a concert. On a concert, oftentimes this happens because you're assisted by your audience to reach that level. But the character guides in making a lot of decisions. So here, is this extrovert or introvert? So is he really expressing himself to the world, or is this just an inner talk? I'm just asking the question. I see the beginning of this piece actually as very intimate, as Beethoven oftentimes in this kind of pieces seems to be talking to himself. It's an inner dialogue. And not saying that it's absolute truth, but if that's something that you could see somewhere to be really within this piece, then yes, it might be. It's piano, it's indicated soft. There are no indications of real strong accents, like for instance in the second line. Fortissimo, and then piano. that ornament, of course, is related to the one in bar 2. So I would say perhaps just starting out as a kind of improvised conversation internally. So not too heavy accentuated, but I'm making choices now. That's just an interpretation. Still, you have to have the energy to reach the A flat. And that's so difficult. I mean, for me personally, I could not imagine this to be much faster, because what are you going to do here? Suddenly, after building up this piano, everything stops. It's like not having seen that red light after the behind the corner, and I just need to pull the brakes really brisk. I mean, so what is the effect that Beethoven wants us to feel here? In exactly this spot. So fortissimo, still the bow ends, so B flat, A flat, G and F under one bow. It ends there, so meaning a little bit of articulation gap to make a small or bigger accent possible at the next note. The next note starts with this ornament, with this turn. So it shouldn't have an accent. The accent is on the F. And then he gives this chord in the left hand on the second beat. But he doesn't repeat that at the end. There the chord is at the first beat, which makes sense as well. So here. So you have, which is a little bit easier than here. I think Czerny is, I don't know if Czerny gives this the same way as Schenker does, but this for sure is correct. So you want to hold back already here to prepare that, and he gives the indication of, is that a diminuendo sign from my teacher? No, it's printed. So yeah, there is a diminuendo sign. I should look it up at other editions, but I think it is there. But how much? He gives fortissimo here. So you cannot go from fortissimo to pianissimo. Certainly not if you have to play piano in the next bar. And then you have this rest quarter note with the, we call it orgelpunt sign. So it's meant to hold there. I mean, longer than the quarter note pose indicates. And you will need that. So that's these two bars. They are key to the whole piece. And they're really difficult. I've not figured out. I mean, if I play this on a concert, I make something of this that works. But really knowing exactly what the meaning was of Beethoven here, that's... And oftentimes, certainly if people play it much faster, you don't have the possibility to do something really meaningful or impactful. So you will hear people rush over this as over a lot of details, not because they're bad musicians, because they're not, but simply you don't have time. But if you do have time, you start seeing these possibilities, but still then you say, what is the meaning here? Let's just try it again. So that's, here the notes are too short. Have you noticed the difference in touch now? So from to, I not only give them a little bit more time, those notes, making them for according to the textbooks of those days, just half the value that they have. So staccato meaning literally ripping the note of half its value without changing the duration of the entire note, but the release is a little bit more gentle. And there's my daughter Sophie not remembering we have a live stream. No problem, Sophie. That's the great thing about live streams. So let's try it again, Tom. What I like now, it's just something I've never done before, is giving every of these 3 bars so that's, I think that's, yes, that's the reason why Beethoven introduces those high notes by an ornament, to give a little bit of, to create a little bit of air gap. So da-dum, da-dum. So you have this moment where you expect to have an accentuated note, but it's not there. It's a short appoggiatura, which means on the beat, if possible. It's very difficult, but accentuated note comes on the hope note, on the main note, and then you have this. Let me just demonstrate. It's easier than to explain. I still would want to have this chord on the first beat though. So you have 1, second time, and then a third time. So we're spending now a lot of time at the beginning, but you see when I played it at the beginning of the live stream, and that's the nature of these live streams, I'm sharing that with you. I mean, that puts myself in a little bit of vulnerable position, but I don't mind. I mean, we are all here to learn from each other, and so I had the feeling while the spirit was a little bit out, the performance, I didn't expect that to happen, because I played it this afternoon was actually as it should be. But again, if you are holding a certain piece of music too long in the performance parameter, so to say, that it's ready to be performed any moment or any time, then it's like keeping dishes warm. I mean, that's the best moment to eat something you cooked is really right after preparing it, not keeping it warm. You can better warm it up again than just keeping it warm for ages. And so that sometimes happens when you're practicing a piece over a longer time, but constantly, that you reach a certain level where the piece is actually ready to be performed, and then just dive into it like a car. If something happens or if something is broken in your motor, you need to take it apart and then assemble it again. And that's wonderful, because you always will see that you find new connections and new relationships between motives and between things in the music, and certainly with composers like Beethoven, this never ends. Okay, let's now do it again, see what we have learned, I mean, me personally, and what I can repeat of that, and see how the next phrase connects to the beginning, because that's another difficulty, repeating that in the left hand after the long break. The F was too long. lost my concentration and focus here. I was thinking about this. So harmonically, this is so nice. I do something else on Czerny indicate. So Czerny makes this, plays this ornament with the left hand. So difficult. Now it's going straight forward. Forte. And now you have this rhythmical pulse which will guide us to the next piece, to the next place. Yeah, and here it makes a crescendo. It goes from, literally would be the, and I feel a diminuendo, so something is not right here. I feel this. He's not writing that, so. This should hurt, eh? And on the Viennese piano you can give this accent without overpowering, always. And of course it's written for this kind of instrument. You have also the F, just waiting for that moment. Tum, 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 tum. So you need to emphasize that, so you have this rhythm. But make the bass a little, the lowest note a little bit longer. So once you have this, that the rhythm is not interrupted. If you notice, this was something I've never done. So instead of going in 4, now in 2. Suddenly you have this more, this need, this feeling of urgency. So I do it again. Left hand. Beethoven indicates here which notes are the strong notes by this forzando signs, but otherwise you would perhaps lose a little bit of direction in these long notes. But this is, he brings all these elements of expression, like the tension that he built up here is a culmination, in fact, of what was going on at the beginning, but now on another level. It's not that introvert talk anymore, but still you come to another level, as if you are walking in the forest and suddenly you see a magical landscape in front of you, which you didn't expect. And that's here the case. So you have these layers that they're moving, but they seem to be standing still, but they're not standing still, because you have this rhythm that's going on that binds the whole piece together. And that's so magical. That's something that, as if I might say, that you really lose when you play this piece much faster. But on the other hand, if it doesn't work, if you don't give the exact amount of timing necessary to these forzando notes, then this doesn't work either in this tempo. So, but once you do and it works, it's really magical. Certainly, if you see what comes next, because there he takes this movement, this rhythmical movement to another level in preparation for the return of the main theme, of course. Let's try this again. Complete new chapter in this piece. Suddenly I'm figuring, does he mean forte here? Because I feel it forte, but I don't think he is forte here. He is still in the piano range, I think, always. It's piano, and then he has this forzando, it's a crescendo, but forte piano, forzando. He doesn't indicate. So let's stick to piano here, I mean soft. But still have this rhythm here, because the left hand there becomes dominant. It's like hidden here. Also here, you go really to down, but then you have these two octaves. Also here, that accent is so unexpected, although it is on the third beat, but you have these counter accents all the time now. And now it's like this is disappearing at the horizon, and suddenly there is one rhythmical element that will last, and that will bring us in a brilliant way to the beginning again. So let's try to build this up again without crescendo. Okay, not too silent. That's not possible on this piano. So you should give a little bit tone. So okay. And now the distinction between dum pum 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 pa ri ri da and the beat always against the beat. Also, that rhythm is completely lost when you play it much faster, because then you have this unity of the bar pulse, which gives you no possibility to do that. I've never done this, so that's something I discover right now. So crescendo, only left hand. And this is of course different than at the beginning. And yes, so he has now forte, which is the first time, and sforzando on the A flat, which he hasn't at the beginning. So from being very introvert and internal conversation, this is going, Beethoven takes this to the outside. So that's actually unbelievable. That's great. I mean, it's a small detail, but it makes in this piece such a big difference. And no more decrescendo here. Also a difference. But now. And then this. So how incredible is that? So just like on an organ, pulling all the stops, organo pleno, bringing it all out, and then going way more introvert like these chords. You see all these slight differences in harmonic chains. Again, for me, that's one of the reasons way back years ago where I was just so sensitive to these tempos, because that is lost. It's unbelievable. So let's just try again. Oh, sorry. Should give a little bit more accent here. And then, as if nothing happened, there's the rhythm again. Yo. So there he brings everything back to the beginning. And so these sudden shifts also a little bit in rhythm and tempo. So these little accelerandos and taking back, that's, I think, something that fits into this kind of performance practice of that time. So this Sturm und Drang, but not by opening everything, but very measured. But sometimes, like here, it works great to make these contrasts even more. And something I think I'm going to do even when recording. So just pushing and pulling a little bit. So. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm really happy to have gone through this piece together with you. It might have been a little bit of a slow start because I was searching for some, some grips and that gave me some of the direction that I thought I had. And it's a great lesson also to me that you always need to search further and deeper, and there's always a layer that you haven't seen before. And I cannot but repeat myself during these live streams. I'm in a way more focused, so I see these things that probably otherwise perhaps I wouldn't have seen. I don't know, or just becomes more clear to me. But we have, I hope, and I go in the chat in 30 seconds. So I hope you too have the impression that we have gone through some details that, makes this piece stand out from so much music that has been written in the same period. I mean, this is these first sonatas. That's hard to understand how much depth and how much integrity is maybe not a word, but honesty, human emotion is in there. Contrast, how he brings everything of that time together in a new style. This really new. Okay, happy with it actually. And I was planning to play just the whole sonata, but because I thought, well, this we have already done. So, but that's never done. So let me just fix this microphone a little bit here, because otherwise you won't hear my voice if I go to the chat. Okay. Okay, there's the chat again. Live chat. I would switch to live chat. Tom is in the chat, so that's great because he's missing a lot of these live streams because he has to work. So it's great to see him. Glenn, Doug, Emmy, Bösendorfer sounds amazing indeed. Yes, but well, I wouldn't say that on a Bösendorf you will have difficulties, or it's impossible to bring out these contrasts, or this is miniaturistic and compared to playing it on a Bösendorf. But you will get lost a little bit. It's like putting one of those Vermeer paintings, if you see Vermeer paintings, a famous Dutch painter, 17th century, of course, if you print that in a book, you have the impression they're very large. But if you see them live in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, they're really tiny little things. And so if you would put them on the back of a Rembrandt painting, which is huge, would get lost. Still would be there, but a little bit. But our great pianos. In Amsterdam, we had a nice Bösendorfer, which actually not a lot of people played because they were more focused to the Yamaha pianos, which I never understood. Okay. Gradus ad Parnassum found it here. Okay, Gradus ad Parnassum is always on the piano here. I'm practicing that daily. There's several editions, but this is a very nice one. An edition by Schott in Brussels. And this is awesome music, really. Just giving you a glimpse of just a canon that I was practicing. It's just by no means finished. Just made a fingering for that. So you have exercises here and all kinds. So for developing of fingers, speed, the legato. But you have also great fugues here, but this is a really weird piece. So Clementi, Gradus ad Parnassum, and again, it's just a piece from a few days ago. It's a canon infinito per moto contrario, so in counter movement, e per giusti intervalli. I guess that's by, he can start wherever he wants, but it's a mirror effect. and so on. It's a weird piece, and it's one of the more cryptic pieces of this Gradus ad Parnassum. It's beautiful, beautiful etudes. So nice to play. Not easy, even not in double beat. I mean, of course, it's easier when you play a little bit slower. No discussion about that. But what he asks Clementi is holding chords and then doing weird things with your fourth finger or just with two fingers. It feels very modern, and it's actually you have to keep on relaxing your arms, because otherwise you will. Tom writes, it sounds as hard as the duettos by Bach. No, they're not. This is not so difficult as the duettos by Bach, but it's weird. I mean, for that time, imagine Gradus ad Parnassum around 1800. I actually don't know. It was in fashion, counterpoint again, and so this is great. Great music. Clementi is really great. It's great music. It sounds wonderful on this piano too. I'm just going through the chat here. A few more minutes. Zacharias, Wim, does the shot edition notate staccato for the left hand eighth notes? Quaver starting measure 20. The urtext here I have doesn't. So you mean in this piece? Per bar 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's no staccato indicated, nothing. It says sempre legato at the beginning, which is interesting because there is no bowing, almost none. So my guess is here for Clementi that if he doesn't indicate legato, that he wants to have the brillantisch Spiel, which means a little bit articulated. That's so das brillantes Spiel, I don't know if that's correct in German. So brilliant play is not what many people make out of that today, very fast. It's sometimes even on the contrary, it means a little bit articulated to give this, to enhance the effects of the piece, which gives a more energetic feel than just playing legato. And with Clementi, it's actually rather clear. Yeah, Tom, Clementi wrote that. It's the same bundle as it starts with the famous, so beautiful, and double beat. This is so beautiful, but you will hear that on the channel in a few weeks or months. I'm planning to have an etude series, so to have every Friday or so one etude uploaded, but it's so nice. It's difficult, you have to hold all these notes and no paddling, except here. Listen now. Isn't that really, really nice? That's okay. And it's really tricky. If you play that, don't play it more than twice, because maybe it doesn't sound that difficult, but holding all those notes and then sometimes 4 notes and then still with the 4th finger, you have to jump, pom, 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 pom. So it needs to go up and down, obviously, otherwise you don't have that repeated note. But that you don't get tension here, really dangerous. Of course, on the Viennese piano, that's lighter than on a Steinway, so even if you play it on a Steinway, really pay attention not to over practice, because then you will hurt yourself. And if you do that for a few weeks, I can promise you will be at the doctor. But it's nice if you don't over strength your system or how to call that. Keep everything under that healthy bar. Then this is so great. So just play that 30 minutes. And also, generally, those exercises, they are really great. And then go to Beethoven. Okay. David says, in the Beethoven playing chords in the left hand at the opening of the sonata legato, in contrast to the right hand staccato, adds a lot of character. That's possible, yeah. Though in this sonata at the beginning, you need, you can play them portato a little bit, because you need to repeat those notes. But you can make a difference there, yes, sure. It's not indicated staccato, so you can make them a little bit more like a string orchestra with accompany a soloist. Yeah, John, never do that. Stiffness and tension, yes, but here, if you play that opening piece and has some others as well, but again, I'll come back to that, but the Etude series, if you play that 3 times, you will feel your systems. You over practice things then. Okay, theoretically musical. Wim, do you think it's sacrilegious, something like that, to play harpsichord with a pedal? If you mean a pedal board like on an organ, no, not at all, because that was done in the 18th century as well. And a harpsichord with a pedal, a sustaining pedal, then I would say, I don't know if these Pleyel pianos at Landowska, harpsichords that Landowska played on, had a sustaining pedal. I actually don't know. But we can do whatever we want with that music. That's the great thing. There's nothing you can do wrong or think. We live in a time where there's a tendency in music performances, also in in historically informed performance practice, whatever that means, where people expect you to play in a certain way, but that's actually not necessary. And if you make up your mind for something you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. And I do see an opening, more and more openings for renewed experiment and in respect for that music. Okay, I hear Anya coming down, so with questions. I wonder how she's coming here. We have more space now without the piano, but I've taken every space available here.
There was more space. I'm not getting that.
So that's Anya in case of, okay, I can make some place, you see. Okay.
So when I manage this, I'm still good.
So here's a microphone, that's the camera, and
here are the questions.
Okay, so this is Anya, my wife. Of course, you know her.
Hello.
Many of you.
A few
questions.
Is this a Dover edition?
Yeah,
yes.
This is the Schenker Dover. It's on IMSLP as well. I love playing from that edition. It has relatively good fingerings. I mean not overthinking. I'm playing the rest of Beethoven's works if I don't have the original score from the Wiener Urtext, and those fingerings are just, those are over. The person who wrote that finger is overthinking, like repeated notes every time, change your finger, and even if it's not necessary. But every time you do that, you have to think about it, because reading the fingerings, if you don't play them, just erase them. But The Schenker fingerings are not so bad, are actually useful.
I just want a short answer for this one. Which etude is this? So the last one you are...
Okay, I was saying that's the Gradus ad Parnassum of Clementi. First piece. So if you people ever hear or read saying Clementi sax is boring, it's not. It's really great. Yeah, it's that.
And then there was a question.
Be careful because it's 130 years old or 40 years old. And it's really falling apart.
Yeah, it is.
It's always standing on the piano.
And well, Alicia, that's a question.
I was wondering if you could explain the respiratio or the piano.
Yeah, that was a bigger question, but I did it short.
Okay, it's a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So the respiratio, this is, yeah, you mean the Zeus figure, like
Okay.
Here, this, for instance. So I give the accent there on the middle note, and probably I've mentioned that during the live stream. But you might go back there. But if you play music like this, always think from an orchestral point of view or from a singer standpoint. How would a singer do this? And then naturally you get something that you cannot repeat on the piano because we are so limited in dynamic tools. Actually, we can play a little bit louder and softer on the clavichord. It's a little bit more possible because you can, yeah, it's hard to say, but you can do more with the string because you have constant contact with the string. But on the piano, of course, not. It's all about imitating that. So you do that by giving an accent, by making dynamic differentiations, but also with timing. So it's something that's, I think, for me at least, is very important to always connect this to something that a singer could do very cantably, certainly in that music. Hope that answers a little bit your question. But we come back to that kind of respiratio.
I think that's...
Suspiratio. So I said, okay. Doug writes, I've stopped collecting antique printed matter. Yeah. I was so lucky 20 years ago to buy some stock in Brussels, and when I hadn't any money there at the time for historical scores, but basically it was a wonderful shop. They had an incredible collection, and when we made the transfer, we transferred from the Belgian franc to the euro, 2000, 2001. The guy contacted me and said, I will not exist anymore after the euro is introduced. So here you can have it all if you want to make your price. But there was no way I could buy all of that. But I had some collection. But now Lorenz Guardian, you know,
he's got you 2 or 3 boxes.
He's always donating me whenever because yeah, he wants that music to be played, and still playing from those old scores or something delicate because you want to pass it to another generation and not scribble it with all fingers and notes. But it feels great to read that from paper instead of always online or from a tablet computer.
Alicia's saying it
human breathing, yeah.
You have to do it.
Yeah, no. But really think of a human, a singer actually, that's, yeah. If the question is if you would breathe accordingly when playing, I don't think you need to do that because you're not singing actually. And in fact, I would avoid doing that. You can start, I mean, sometimes I do sing when I play, but I try to avoid it as much as I can because you get used to this. The musical tension should go to your fingertips and not to your throat because that's what the singer does. So the release should go from your inner system, whatever, to your fingertips. So imitating that. Hope that answers a little bit your question. And otherwise, if it doesn't, just drop me a message, a comment on YouTube. I'll find that and might be a good topic for a video, just explaining those things, at least how I see that. Okay, guys, I think we'll have to go, and because it's 6:15 and Evelyn is going to prepare some dinner tonight with you. So she will be waiting for us. Anyway, as I said before, I enjoyed this live stream a lot. It was a little bit of a slow start, I believe, but at least for me, there are some new aspects that I'm really thrilled about this piece. And so when I thought it was ready for recording, perhaps it was, but we are on a different level now. So looking forward to working on that. So for next live streams on Thursday, I'm not at home, but I will do my best to upload a practicing session that has been pre-recorded at the clavichord, probably with the second movement of Beethoven Sonata, Opus 49, number 1, the G minor. Last week we did the first movement, so I'll try to do that and also release it as a premiere, so you'll have these chat possibilities that you have as we are live. And then for next week, we're taking a break with the kids, but of course not on YouTube. I will record a practicing session here with, I have recorded a practicing session with the second sonata, A major, first movement, that will go on Monday as a premiere also. On Wednesday then we will have the second episode of Isidore Philippe. Now Wednesday we'll have the Clementi Sonata, first part. And then on Thursday, next week, I'll try to have a second practicing session. It should be not too big of a problem to record that. And after that, we'll see. Okay, thanks for being here. Thanks for your support also on Patreon. Always like to end with that. We are approaching the number of 90 patrons. That's really incredible number. They're really the backbone of what we're doing here. Their support is incredible. So if you feel inspired to go over to our Patreon page, once just $1 a month really makes a difference if the number is big enough. So imagine 10% of the viewers of Authentic Sound would do that. $1 a month, this would be a full-time job. Just mentioning that. And for now, have a nice day, and we see each other very soon again.
Goodbye.
Bye.